We will thrive.
Reid.
Well, hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Greg, right here in San Diego, California, and it is a privilege. And like you said earlier, every dollar matters. Whatever we can get together, make sure we donate to make a positive impact in somebody else's life. Now, for those of you who don't know my career, I've been publishing about 100 books, 45 different languages, and just completed my first major feature film. But it all began with my very first title called The Millionaire Mentor. And it's kind of interesting. When you write a book, people don't know this, but you create something called a query letter. It says who you are, what's your message, why are you an expert, who's going to read your book. I was turned down by 268 publishers in a row for my first book. By the way, I can't very well read, write, and I'm dyslexic, so I didn't blame them. And the 269th publisher said, we'll do your title, just change the title, beginning, middle, and the end, because they could see my challenges. I hired a ghostwriter. I worked my strengths, my gift of gab, and I hired my weaknesses, an amazing editor who could take my words and craft them in a way people would want to read. Well, that was 100 books ago. The moral is it had been easy to quit after 50 rejections or 100 or 212 or 240. But it's the people that understand the power of stickability, the power to persevere. They're the ones that come out on top. Tell you a little story about a book called Think and Grow Rich. You have all seen this classic. It's the 20th best-selling book in history and the Bible of personal development. But here's a story you might not know. You see, the aspiring magazine reporter Napoleon Hill gained access to the richest man of the world back in 1908. And it was supposed to be a 30-minute interview, turned out to be 3 full days and nights. And at the end of the interview, Carnegie says, I like you. And here's an opportunity. He said, work for me for free for 20 years, and I'll send you on a mission to meet all my friends. You'll pick their brain and write the first ever formula for success called Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill thought about it for a second and says, Mr. Carnegie, not only will I accept that mission, I promise I'll complete the task. And then he says, congratulations, you got yourself a job. But the young Hill says, why are they going to talk to me? I'm just 24 years old. I'm not connected. I don't know anyone. And Mr. Carnegie says, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. When they see it, they'll know I sent you, gave you all the time you want. He sat down with Edison, Einstein, the Fords, the Rockefellers, the president, and wrote the 20th best-selling book in history. But here's what you don't know. You see, Carnegie was a stickler for action and gave his guest only 60 seconds to make up his mind to work for free for 20 years. And when Napoleon Hill walked out of the office, Carnegie pulled out a stopwatch. He began, and guess what? There was 31 seconds left. Napoleon Hill made a life-changing decision in only 29 seconds. But here's where it gets interesting. You see, Carnegie made that same offer to over 250 men before Napoleon Hill. He was the only person to say yes. Everyone else had something called a bad case of the one size. That means I'll take action once I get the kids out of the house, once I get the big break. And it's the people that take action, the moment that the opportunity strikes, they're the ones that we tell the stories about today. You know, a lot of times I get off stage and people come up and say, what's the thing that's holding me back? And the answer is always the same. It's your big butt. I don't mean the one you're sitting on. I mean, when you go, hey, I'd go do that too. But, and that seems to be our biggest challenge. Well, that was Napoleon Hill's quest with Mr. Carnegie in 1908. You fast forward 100 years in 2008, where the president and surviving family of the Napoleon Hill Foundation wrote that same letter that Mr. Carnegie wrote to Napoleon Hill, and they gifted it to me. And they gave me a Willy Wonka ticket to travel the world to meet the most powerful and influential people to pick their brains and write the next transition called 3 Feet from Gold. It's a story about a gold miner who literally gave up 3 feet away from the largest strike in history. This young guy named R.U. Darby had gold fever and went out west and started digging. Found a couple nuggets, got excited. He hid it and buried it and went back home. He told his family and friends, and they chipped in money to buy it out by the ore cart, and sure enough, it did. But then the gold ran out. They kept digging, but there was no more gold. They kept digging. All the gold was done. Defeated, Darby walks out of the mine and says, I quit. and sees a junk man walking by. He says, hey, buddy, give me $200. I'm going to sell you the mine, the deed, the equipment. I'm going back home to Maryland. The junk man surveying the equipment was worth thousands, said, absolutely, you got yourself a deal. But then Darby goes home defeated, a quitter. But the junk man, he goes to a local engineer and says, what happened? This guy hit gold and ran out. The engineer starts laughing. He says, that's mining 101. Everyone knows that gold runs in a straight line. It's called a gold vein. What Darby did is he came in one side, hit gold, and popped back into dirt. He said, go back to where they discovered treasure. Go 3 feet the opposite way, you'll tap back into the vein. Not only did the junk man pull millions upon millions of dollars out, but that's what fills Fort Knox today. And the moral is, how many times have we or someone we know quit one class short from a degree or sales or marketing or marriage? It's easy to quit, but it's the people that persevere and go that extra little 3 feet. They're the ones that we tell our stories about today. And I can go really deep in some of the amazing people I've met, but one person really rung true. His name was John Schwartz, who created something called super string theory. And he said, successful people seek counsel where failures listen to opinion. I'm going to say it again. Successful people seek counsel, failures listen to opinion. And I said, what's the difference? And he says, well, opinions based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, inexperience, like a family friend who's never done what you're about to venture upon. Counsel, however, is based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way. If you go to a family friend and tell them you're going to write a best-selling book, they're going to try to talk me out of it to protect me because they know I can't spell, right? But if I go to Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, sold 1 billion copies, and say, Jack, I want to write a book, he'll say, sit down, here's what you need to know, and give me counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. John Schwartz said, if we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinion, that's the day your life would change. And the single greatest thing that we can have when we have a goal is something called stickability, the power to persevere. But something that's equal to that is something called flexibility. I remember sitting down with Marty Cooper, the guy who invented the cellular phone, and he gave me a great example. He said, in the spider monkey, is the rainforest is the most nimble creature. You can't harpoon it, spear it, catch it. It's too wiry. But one hunter figured it out. He took a heavy log, drilled a tiny hole, dropped a peanut inside, and left it at the base of the jungle. The monkey would smell the nut, get excited, come down from the treetop, reach his hand inside, grab a hold of the nut. Now he can't pull it back out because he come anchored to the log. Now all he's got to do is let go, but he holds on with dear life. He thinks that nut is nutrition. It's saving him. The hunter comes by an hour later, captures the elusive spider monkey. The moral is, are we holding on to our own nut right now? But it could be in a form of a job or a deal or guilt or a car or a relationship or fear. And what we're holding on with for dear life because we think is saving us, just like the monkey thought the nut was, could also be the thing that's leading to our own demise. Sometimes we have to have the courage and the fortitude to simply let go and adjust, to adapt, to live, to fight another day. You know, I had a chance to meet some amazing human beings along my own personal success journey. And one person that always comes to mind, Evander Holyfield. I don't know if you all know him, but he's a boxing legend. He wants to get back in the game after retirement, by the way. And if anyone can do it, he can. And I asked him, I said, how did you win more heavyweight championships than anyone? He says, that's easy. He says, I have a higher standard. He said, in sports, I showed up early. I left late. I invented exercises. I had a higher standard and I won more championships than anyone. He goes, where could you be outside the ring if you were a pet groomer, stockbroker, insurance sales executive, and you had a higher standard? I said, but didn't it hurt being in a fight? He says, yeah, it hurts. But when you're in a fight, you don't focus on the pain. You don't focus on the blows. As soon as you focus on the pain, you end up on your back, knocked out. But that's what people do outside the ring. They focus on gas prices, war, economy, and then they wonder why they never become a champion. And he pulled me in tight. An Adonis of a man missing half an ear bitten off by Mike Tyson. He said, you know what the funny thing is? He says, when you do win the championship, he says, everyone comes to their feet and they chant your name. They raise your hand in victory, and the guy puts a big shiny belt around your waist. And at that moment, and at that second, you don't feel even one of the punches you took along the journey. But the guy in the losing locker room will have every bruise, every excuse for the rest of their life, wishing they had a higher standard. So in closing, here is what I can say. I don't know everyone watching this right now, but I do know this about you. Chances are everyone comes to you for counsel. Everyone comes to you for their great advice, and that's cool. Know why? Because you're a leader. But it's time to get selfish. It is time to draw an imaginary line in the sand and step across and say, it's my turn. I've got that idea for a book or a movie or entrepreneurial spirit. I will not take it to my grave. And remember this, our greatest success will always come just one step beyond our greatest setback and failure. So you draw a line in the sand and you step across and say, it's my turn. I love you, family. I love you, friends. I've done my best I can. Now it's your turn. I'm going to take care of me. Just like Les Brown says, we must fill our own cup first and then feed the world with what flows over. We draw a line in the sand and you step across and you say, it's my turn. And I know you're like that beautiful duck on top of the water. You're beautiful, but underneath you're freaking out and you keep paddling. You draw a line in the sand and you step across and you say, it's my turn. I've got that idea. I know I got something special. I will not let another person or myself talk me out of what I know to be true. And when you want to say die and throw in the towel, that's when you kick it in the most. You've got something great inside of you. Never give up. Never surrender. You truly could be 3 feet from gold. Goodbye, everybody.